It's time now to take a look at stories making the headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the First News newspaper. The major story here, Sudan crisis. First batch of stranded Nigerians land in Abuja. Sudan crisis. First batch of stranded Nigerians land in Abuja. And some riders here says evacuated by NAF plane. Air Peace also brought in some persons, as is being expected to bring in some persons later today. And we move now to the front page of the Vanguard. NLC TUC kick as Senate OK's federal government's 22.7 trillion naira ways and means. NLC TUC kick as Senate OK's federal government's 22.7 trillion naira ways and means. And to the front page of the Punch newspaper, 26 days to go. Outrage as Senate approves Buhari's 22.7 trillion naira extra budgetary spending. Punch newspaper, 26 days to go. Outrage as Senate approves Buhari's 22.7 trillion naira extra budgetary spending. All the details on the front page of the Punch newspaper. To the Guardian newspaper now. Nigeria to spend next 40 years repaying controversial 23.72 trillion naira CBN overdrafts to federal government. Nigeria to spend next 40 years repaying controversial 23.72 trillion naira CBN overdrafts to federal government. All the details on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Now to the front page of the Voice of Liberty. President Buhari unveils new National Development Plan 2050. President Buhari unveils new National Development Plan 2050. You find all the details on the front page of the Voice of Liberty. To the Nigerian News Direct, 26 days to hand over. Buhari unveils Agenda 2050, eyes 165 million jobs. Some riders here targets increase of per capita income to $328 per annum, aims at placing Nigeria amongst world's top economies by 2050. All the details on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. And on the front page of the Daily Sun, I won't marginalize any part of Nigeria. Tinubu, I won't marginalize any part of Nigeria. He made this statement in Port Harcourt, where he went to commission some projects in the state. You find all the details on the front page of the Daily Sun. And to the front page of the Daily Independent, my government won't marginalize any region, Tinubu assures. My government won't marginalize any region, Tinubu assures. You find all the details on the front page of the Daily Independent. Kemi.
And that visit of the president-elect is also being reflected in some of the papers I have with me, looking at Daily Sun, where the president-elect Bola Tinubu told Nigerians, I will not marginalize any part of Nigeria. Of course, he is in Rivers State on a two-day visit. The Nation also replicates that stance now. Tinubu pledges, I will not marginalize any part of Nigeria. This Nigeria is next. Tinubu hails Wike over presidential polls. I couldn't have done it without some structural support. That's on this Nigeria. Tinubu, President-elect Tinubu referring to Governor Wike there. And this day has an interesting headline story there. Tinubu to Wike, I owe you nothing. False request for project refund. That's on this day. Blueprint is next. It's towing a different line. 10th National Assembly leadership, it says PDP, LP, and others battle APC for Speaker, Deputy positions, while ruling party opts for consensus. NAS leadership is also the big story on the leadership. APC may opt for consensus. Senate President and Speaker. APC may opt for consensus, Senate President and Speaker. That's on the leadership. Daily Trust is what I have next. Speakership position. Opposition intensifies plots to upstage. APC says we are more than prepared. It's a fruitless move, says the chief whip. and the task force forum says will abide by ruling party's decision. All right, let's check out the Daily Times next. INEC, Tinubu, Atiku, Obi get notices as tribunal opens pre-hearing Monday. That's the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, which opens its pre-hearing on Monday. That's on the Daily Times. Finally, it's business day. Tomato prices jump 363% as disease curbs output. And analysts say expose FG's failure to tackle food security threats.
All right, let's look at this story on the front page of the First News newspaper, talking about the evacuees after so many days of back and forth, moving them to the Egyptian border where they stayed for a number of days. Nigeria was eventually able to evacuate some persons, about 364 Nigerians, including women, children, and men, arrived yesterday night at about 11:15 p.m., as it is being reported, aboard the NAF jet landed in the Nnamdi Azikiwe airport yesterday. And they were received by some members of family and some government officials at the airport. You could see that there was relief on the faces of those that were brought in yesterday. And listening to the report, we just excerpt of some persons that spoke earlier while we're reading the news update. A particular woman who spoke was saying that the government, well, did all they could to bring them, looking at the attendance situation on the ground. And so she commended the government for their effort. And it has been reported that the Atiku Foundation, I'm talking about Dangote. Yeah. Aliko Dangote Foundation gave them some monies, about 100,000 naira, and some other pack were given to them yesterday. Sam.
Yes, it's a good thing that they've started arriving.
Right.
War is not it's no joke. As some people say, not be yoke, you know, because in war people die, people mangled, there's a displacement, your life has been cancelled the way it is. You know, you have to start life all over. It's even worse when you are a foreigner coming from somewhere else, and you have to go home, and you don't have legitimacy in that land, and then you just want to make sure that your life, if you don't have legitimacy in that land, at least you should have legitimacy with your life. Yeah. And so that's what they did. So for them to have come back is a good thing. They say Shakespeare says all is well that ends well. Well, they are home.
Well, we can't say it's ended
another
yet.
chapter.
Yeah.
Well, that's well. It's one chapter has ended
alive.
well.
Yeah. Right,
they have their life. When you have your life,
there's hope.
There's hope.
Yeah. Sure.
What has happened is a disruption.
Yeah.
You have to commend the Dangote Foundation for giving them 100,000 naira. And we don't know what the federal government has given them beyond the what they call it, the health packs.
Yes.
I think they need more food packs and health packs. You know, we don't know that they have any health problems yet. I think what they need more is free medical check.
Yes, but I think that's standard.
Yeah?
I think the free checks, because they're going to go through routine, that should be standard. The routine screenings and all that to check their health. It's definitely they have gone through.
Have they done that?
There was a routine check at the airport.
No, that's not the
it's
kind
beyond
of check
the
I'm
deeper
talking
one,
about.
the more intensive.
You have to find out whether they're okay.
Absolutely.
You know, some of them might have eaten
trauma.
Not only trauma is one part of it. Some of them have eaten what they're not supposed to eat in the state of war, just to survive.
Right.
I remember somebody was running for his safety during the Nazi invasion of Europe, and they wanted to dodge them. He hid in one hospital and discovered that he saw water. He doesn't know what the water was made of because they used it was not clean water. Absolutely. It was water that was used with all kinds of chemicals. Maybe it's a waste of water from injection or from drugs and so on. But that was the only water I had, and they drank it with relish.
Right. Right.
Because that's the only thing they can get now.
Yeah.
Now, people can eat all kinds of things, all kinds of vegetables, all kinds of stuff. And you need to be sure that they have not caught something. They have not caught something. And the state of war is
Especially
not
for the
easy.
children,
The
because we saw
children,
some
exactly.
children there. The matter of trauma too is something that has to be looked into because
Yes, they have to have another. They have some of the students who have to think of what am I going to do with my education.
How do they continue
Those
their
who have
education?
businesses, what am I going to do now? I have this. I have my wife. I have my children. Or I have my husband. I have my children. Well, what am I going to do? I've come back to Nigeria. I ran away from Nigeria because of this. Now I'm back.
I think the woman said she was in Sudan for 18 years.
You imagine that.
So you can only
it's
imagine
home.
how to start. You have to
Start
start all
afresh.
over again. How the kind of challenge it is looking at the economic situation in the country. But from your point of view, Kemi,
The future is
yeah.
well, on the face of it, uncertain, but we cannot overstate the fact that they are alive, and you could see the absolute joy and relief on their faces to be reunited with their loved ones, especially when you look at the fact that most of them left the country for diverse reasons, education topmost. Of course, many just went to resettle there, and to think that Sudan is now what it is today is really sad. Like the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs said, it's really one thing that one should pray for, this thing of peace, this concept called peace is something we all take for granted. And when you're on the flip side of things, you can just imagine how very much grateful you should be to be alive. And we can only hope that the situation in Sudan gets better, because there are still far more Nigerians who are there, and it could flip. There is a ceasefire. There is said to be a ceasefire, but apparently fighting continues.
Ongoing,
There's still shots and reports of shooting and all that. So we just hope that the remaining Nigerians who are desirous to return, we hear that there are about 5,000 or so, and 2,005, there's an arrangement for 2,005 plus Nigerians to return home. We hope that they do get back safely. We also hear that a telecoms company also provided them free recharge card of 25,000 naira and free data as well, in addition to the dignity or health pack that they received. We hope that much more support will get to them in due course, so they can start afresh.
Well, meaning Nigerians can begin to show some support, because the government actually cannot do this alone. We should also look at how we can resettle them, because this was also a matter when we had the Ukraine crisis, I meant to say, where some Nigerians returned and they were looking to continue their studies, because there were those who were writing exams at the time. There were those who were at a point of rounding up their programs. And they were asking government if they could just bring them in, incorporate them into the educational system and continue their classes, whatever it is. But that didn't seem to go on smoothly. But I believe that at this point, like we have been speaking on set, we should begin to have templates for addressing matters like this.
Yes, we need to have that. But I think people should know now that if you flip the situation, you find you will understand the value of democracy, no matter how imperfect.
Yes,
so those people who are talking about military rule, they probably were not born when soldiers were hounding people like us in the country. I was in the country practicing as journalist. I remember during the June 12
You're
crisis.
still practicing.
No, I'm
under
talking
a
of
different
under a different circumstance. When I was bureau chief of Concord newspapers, I had to leave early in the morning, as far as 4 o'clock, to escape 2 vehicles that had been monitoring, following me all around Abuja for the past 1 week. And I didn't know until somebody drew my attention to it. Olu Akerele, who was Abiola's right hand man, said, "Sam, don't you know that one Jetta and 1505, they have been following you all around?" I said, "I didn't know." So anytime I entered my car, I would look back, I would see a Jetta.
And God knows.
And I just moved into Abuja. I had not even gotten accommodation. At that time, I was living with a friend, and then went to a nights out at the Hilton. They called it Nikon Noga Hilton that time. And then when we were coming back home, I saw one of them, the cars following us. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to traumatize my host. But some women can be very observant as well. Just turning into the premises, the car just drove past, and the wife of there said, "This These cars been following us since.
Can you imagine?
I said, really? I didn't want. I didn't
And that
want
was
to
the one you
summon-
could say. God
Yeah,
knows
yeah.
what
But
else
all
they would
I
have
did,
done.
what I did was that I secretly planned that in that time they wouldn't have fuel, and I had some people to get a keg of what they call it fuel. I put one in my boot. I filled the car. At 4 a.m. in the morning, I told them I was going to Lagos. So by the time I left, there are a bunch of people with their vehicles, with their cars, or money. They are probably not woken up. So I fled to Lagos
Safely.
safely. That was what happened. So both those of them are talking about, hey, we want soldiers, we want soldiers. You do not know the meaning of soldiers.
The cost it comes
You don't know
with.
the cost of soldiers. I sought asylum in the U.S. because of that problem.
Wow.
Yes. So people should know that, you should know, those people who have come here, when we look at them and they are suffering, we should pray that Nigerians are not put in that situation and they have to go somewhere else because of dislocations in the country.
Perhaps a sense of history. A majority of young persons who are speaking about these issues do not have a sense of history. And then there are those who you expect should know better, also fueling this narrative.
Yes, because they have a distorted sense of history. It's what they call historical consciousness. It's a course that is being studied now in some parts of universities in the U.S. You don't only study the facts and the factors of history. You study what was going on in the minds of the people. What sense of their past did those people have at that time? So what sense of our past do we have at this time? Do we have historical consciousness? We don't have historical consciousness. If you don't have historical consciousness, you're going to act as though you came out from the blues. You don't know, you don't have a past. You don't have something to learn from. You don't have a father, you don't have a mother. And history is like that proverb they say in Yoruba that what a child cannot see,
Standing up.
And elder will see. The elder is history.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why nations still draw lessons from the Rwandan example, because as in other climes now, people, depending on where you stand, history is distorted, like you said. But, if you just look at it from a mature point of view, that there is really no victor, no vanquished, and let everyone just push towards, the national healing and reconciliation. Perhaps we'll get, even here in the reality of the Biafran War, we've seen the horrendous stories that people have told about, being on the other side of the war. But then people are still kind of drumming again, calling for army intervention. Some even going as far as saying, okay, let's just split or let's just go into war. All these are uncalled for and, really are not helping us achieve this national ideal of peace and healing in the country.
I hope that we learn our lessons and we can begin to look at how we come together as a country and move on with developments.